The Knights Templar, often considered to be fierce but unintelligent fighters in the service of God, have become an iconic part of medieval history. But how much do you know about them? Let's find out. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you the craziest and weirdest facts from human history. Some of these go back so far that there are very few records left behind. So let's dive right in. Number 6. Non nobis domini, non nobis, sed nomini tuo de gloriam. This is Latin for, not to us God, not to us, but to your name give glory, and was the mantra of the Levantine Rite of the Templar order, also known as the Knights Templar. It was the branch of the Templar order which operated throughout the Levant. The founder of the order, Bernard of Clairvaux, envisioned the knights as men who would live lives of solitude, poverty, and chastity, dedicating themselves to prayer and martial exercises while taking vows of obedience and loyalty to the Church. Originally established in 1118, the Levantine Rite was synonymous with the very arm of the Templar order that reformed into a public organization in the guise of a Christian military order. As such, it was also the flagship branch of the global organization. At the start of the 12th century, its primary purpose was to protect pilgrims on their way to the Holy Land. Number 5. The Third Crusade. During the Third Crusade, the Levantine Templars were one of the principal forces of the English and French Crusaders, fighting alongside the Knights Hospitalier and Teutonic Knights against the Saracens of the Ayyubid Sultanate in Egypt and Syria. As an elite military order, the Templars were often used as shock troops, engaging the enemy head-on. They were well respected by their contemporaries for their courage and skill in battle, earning both fear and admiration from their opponents. For example, in 1187, at the Battle of Hattin, a small detachment of Templars led by the order's Grand Master, Gerard de Ridefort, held off a much larger Saracen force led by Saladin, thus enabling the rest of the Crusader army to escape. But because of its true nature, unlike the other Crusader orders, the Levantine Templars consisted of agents who infiltrated the various factions of the regional conflict, including the Saracens themselves. Even the Grand Masters of the Knights Hospitalier and the Knights Teutonic ranked among the 9 secret leaders of the Templars. Number 4. Poisoning the city. In 1189, the first year of the Third Crusade, the Levantine Templars suffered a critical setback with the demise of their Grand Master Gerard de Ridefort at the Siege of Acre. Frustration at the prolonged double siege would prompt a plot by the Templars to poison the water supply of the city to kill all of its inhabitants. But they didn't account for one thing. The Templars did not know that Altair ibn la-Ahad, a member of the Levantine Brotherhood of Assassins, was protecting the city. He noticed 2 Templars pouring a mysterious powder into the wells and confronted them. When they refused to tell him what they were doing, Altair attacked and killed them. Altair then reported this incident to the city's governor, who had the wells watched over by soldiers to ensure no further contamination occurred. However, a Templar knight attempted to assassinate the governor, prompting Altair to stop him. After subduing the knight, Altair interrogated him and learned of the Templars' plan to poison the city. With this knowledge, Altair informed the governor of the Templars' true intentions, warning him that the poison was still present in the wells. Together, Altair and the governor organized a defense of the city and prepared to fight off the Crusaders should they attempt to storm the city walls. But the Crusaders did not attack, as the Templars, eager to avoid any complications, had secretly lifted the siege and fled into the desert. In disguise, they believed that Altair had followed them, but he had instead chosen to remain in the city. When the governor asked Altair why he didn't pursue the Crusaders, he replied, "The best revenge is living well." Number 3. Death of Basilisk. In 1190, the Templars relocated their base of operations from Acre to the fortress city of Massif. At the start of 1191, when the Third Crusade reached its final year, the Levantine Templars' Grand Master Robert de Sablé decided to lead a mission to recover the Chalice, an artifact rumored to bestow the power to unify the factions of the war. It was actually a woman named Ada, and lover of Altair. They tracked her to a village called Deir al-Qanater, where she lived in hiding with a fellow assassin. Realizing that their cover was blown, the couple fled into the forest, but were eventually found and captured by the Templars. Meanwhile, the Crusade's overall commander, the Duke of Champagne, came into conflict with the Order's Grand Master. Suspecting that the Templars were not acting in the best interest of the Crusade, the Duke sent his brother, the Abbot of St. Thomas, to investigate. But upon learning of their plan to acquire the Chalice, he realized that the Templars were indeed working towards the greater good and pledged his support. After securing the artifact, the Templars returned to Massif, where they proudly displayed it for all to see. However, the Grand Master, Basilisk, was soon consumed by the artifact's power and became increasingly paranoid and tyrannical, even going so far as to imprison his fellow leaders. Learning of this, the Duke of Champagne confronted Basilisk, but he refused to listen and instead ordered his arrest. The Duke of Champagne managed to free the imprisoned leaders, but not before Basilisk personally executed 3 of them, along with the Duke's brother. Enraged by this, the Duke of Champagne seized Basilisk and had him executed in turn. This power struggle weakened the Templar ranks and prompted a retreat to the fortress of Arsuf. There, Basilisk died in battle at the hands of the master assassin, Altair. Number 2. The Apple of Eden. Shortly after Robert de Sablé's accession in 1191, the Rite directed their next objective to the retrieval of the Apple of Eden from the ruins of Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem, hoping that with its power they could inaugurate their dream of a new world order. It was hoped that with the power of the apple, the Templars could control the minds of men and enforce unity across the warring factions. They also conspired with Al-Mualim, the leader of their mortal enemies, the Levantine assassins, who had recently captured the Piece of Eden in a previous battle with the assassins. In fact, the assassins' plan was to use the apple to gain control of the Templars and the other Crusader factions, believing that they would make easier pawns in their quest for power. But the Templars soon lost the artifact to the traitorous Mentor, who sent his agents to steal it. Afterwards, the Templars attempted to eliminate the assassin leadership, with each of the 9 leaders of the Levantine Rite meeting their end in rapid succession to Altair's blade, as directed by Al-Mualim, who sought to keep his treachery secret. Despite de Sablé's attempt to adapt by exploiting the deaths to unify the Crusaders and Saracens against the assassins, this last-ditch effort unraveled when he himself was slain by Altair at the Battle of Arsuf. Shortly after Al-Mualim was slain by Altair, who had uncovered his mentor's treachery, the remaining Levantine Templars retreated to their new base on Cyprus, which they had purchased from King Richard I. There, under the leadership of Armand Bouchard, they sought to rebuild their forces and relocate all the artifacts kept in their secret archive. Number 1. The Fall of Cyprus. The Templars' misrule of the island quickly provoked an insurgency, which, coupled with the arrival of Altair, led to another critical defeat as the Rite was driven away from Cyprus in 1193. Despite losing their base, the Templars continued to operate in the region until the early 13th century, when they were finally expelled from the Holy Land by the Mamluk Sultanate. Yet by the time of the Renaissance, the Levantine Rite would re-establish their presence in Jerusalem and Damascus, only to be expelled once again by the assassins at the hands of the Ottoman Brotherhood. The Levantine Rite of the Templar Order was a powerful and influential organization that played a significant role in the Crusades and the wider medieval world. Its legacy continues to be felt today through its contributions to the development of military orders, its impact on the course of history, and its enduring presence in popular culture. That's all for this video, folks. Thank you so much for watching. We hope that you learned something new and that you'll subscribe for more videos like this one. This is a pretty good start for our villains. They have a cool base of operations, their troops are in place, their allies are recruited, and they have some artifacts already. But we're still missing one thing, a powerful boss to lead them. As much as I like Robert DeSable, he's just not cut out for this kind of plan. And fortunately for us, we know someone who is more than willing to take charge. A cunning, manipulative, and highly skilled master assassin with plenty of connections in high places. Someone like Cesare Borgia would fit right in. So let's give him a proper introduction. We'll start with a flashback to Cesare's youth back in Rome. He's talking to a visiting French lord about the military situation in Italy. Cesare has already made it clear that he wants to be left alone, so the French lord makes him an offer he can't refuse. If Cesare allows his men to rest and resupply in the Papal States, he will ensure that the Medici are deposed, and the crown of Florence handed directly to Cesare. Though grateful for the offer, Cesare politely refuses, citing his loyalty to the Pope. The French lord takes this as an insult and attacks Cesare's men, starting a fight that ends with the lord's men scattered and their leader dead. From the shadows, Cesare watches the scene unfold, making sure to leave no witnesses alive. Back in the present day, Cesare sits on a throne in the middle of a ruined chapel. Having retrieved the Apple of Eden and reunited with his old friend Ercole, who has since become the leader of the Italian assassins. With the apple now in their hands, the assassins are finally able to activate the keyhole within it and unlock the full potential of the artifact. The assassin hideout transforms itself into a state-of-the-art fortress that rivals anything the Templars can throw against it. It's massive, it's fortified and completely undetectable by modern means. The only problem is it's located deep within the mountains of northern Iraq. As Ercole explains, the fortress is immune to detection by outside forces, but it's useless if they cannot get out alive. That's why he summoned Cesare. As the most cunning man in Italy, Ercole believes Cesare's expertise in subterfuge and diplomacy will be invaluable in navigating the political situation in the Levant. If the assassins want to succeed, they need allies and soldiers. Fortunately, Cesare is more than happy to help out. Not only does he enjoy the challenge of a new environment, but he can also take out a few Templars along the way. Upon arrival in the Holy Land, Cesare wastes no time getting down to business. He immediately sets about recruiting soldiers to his banner, promising amnesty for any common folk who swear fealty to him and agreeing to grant nobles land and power in exchange for their loyalty. At the same time, he sends letters to the kings of France and England, laying out his plan to end the war and secure peace in the region. The deal is simple. Both kings will recognize the Assassin Order as an independent sovereign power in exchange for their support in securing peace. But Cesare knows that a deal like this won't hold unless he can find something to motivate them. And luckily for him, he knows just what to offer. In addition to the French and English, Cesare also writes a letter to Pope Innocent III, offering to lift the interdict placed upon Florence and restore the Medici to power, if the Pope agrees to make him the head of the Catholic Church in the Holy Land, granting him the authority to appoint bishops and collect tithes. The Pope is naturally shocked by this proposal, but he eventually agrees, seeing an opportunity to expand his influence in the region. With the leaders taken care of, Cesare turns his attention to the Templars. In a letter addressed to Robert DeSable, he offers the Grand Master a chance to end the conflict peacefully by joining the Assassin Order and putting the holy relics in Cesare's hands. Of course, he knows this offer will be refused and that the Templars will attack him sooner or later. But until then, he will bide his time and wait for the perfect moment to strike. Meanwhile, as weeks turn into months, the Assassin Fortress becomes a bustling hub of activity. Soldiers train, blacksmiths work, farmers plant crops, and artisans build everything necessary to sustain life inside the fortress. It's a utopian society where everyone is equal and no one goes hungry. All of the people brought in from Italy are given land and allowed to keep whatever wealth they earn. Meanwhile, the locals are taught the assassin ways and trained to defend their newfound home. At the heart of the fortress is the Garden of Eden, a lush paradise filled with exotic plants and animals. Here, Cesare spends his free time relaxing with Ercole, discussing the future of their new society and planning their next moves against the Templars. They know it's only a matter of time before Disable and his men try to raid the fortress, but they're ready for him. The assassins have rigged the garden with traps and booby traps, and Cesare has brought along a group of elite Italian soldiers to defend it. The Templars finally arrive in force, led by Disable himself. Cesare greets them with open arms, inviting them to tour the fortress and see all of the wonders it has to offer. But once they enter the garden, the trap is sprung. Soldiers emerge from the trees and open fire on the stunned Templars, while Cesare and Ercole stand back and watch the slaughter unfold. When the last Templar falls, Cesare steps forward and addresses the surviving members, offering them a chance to surrender and join the assassin order. Those who agree are welcomed with open arms, while those who refuse are put to death. In the aftermath, Cesare consolidates his power over the fortress, using his knowledge of Italian law and military strategy to turn the assassins into a formidable force. The soldiers he brought from Italy are given positions of authority, while the Templars who surrendered are integrated into the ranks. At the same time, he continues to write letters to the kings of France and England, as well as the Pope, solidifying alliances and gathering support for the assassin cause. With his power base secured, Cesare sets about expanding his territory. He leads his army out of the fortress and begins conquering the surrounding countryside, liberating cities from the yoke of the Templars and establishing assassin garrisons throughout the land. The people rejoice at his coming, seeing him as a liberator who has freed them from the oppressive rule of the Templars. News of Cesare's victories reaches Disable, who realizes that he has made a grave mistake. By refusing Cesare's offer of peace, the Grand Master prepares to lead his remaining Templars in a final stand against the assassin hordes. But even as he rallies his troops, he knows it's a lost cause. Cesare is too cunning, too ruthless, and too well supported to be defeated. The final battle between the Templars and the Assassin Order takes place in the ruins of Jerusalem. Disable leads the Templars into battle, but he is quickly overwhelmed by Cesare's elite Italian soldiers. As the Templars fall back, they are picked off by assassin archers until the last man falls. With the victory complete, Cesare returns to his fortress, where he is greeted as a hero by his soldiers. The Assassin Order is now in control of all of the Holy Land, and Cesare is the undisputed ruler of the region. But as he stands surveying his domain, he knows that his work is not yet finished. There are still enemies out there who would gladly see the Assassin Order destroyed, and Cesare has no intention of letting that happen. No, he has bigger plans for this land, plans that will change the world forever. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Welcome to my channel. Today we will be discussing the Knights Templar and how they were destroyed. This is the second video in our series about the assassins, so make sure to watch the first one if you want to know where it all started. Let's get into it. After stealing the Apple of Eden from the vault beneath Masyaf, Al-Mualim found himself in a precarious position. The artifact was now in enemy hands, putting the safety of the assassins in danger. But as the leader of the assassins, he could not afford to show weakness to his fellow members, or else risk losing their trust and potentially the creed itself. His most trusted allies were also unaware of his actions, making it impossible for him to discuss the issue with them. He needed a solution, and fast. But what he needed even more was plausible deniability. Luckily, the assassin's next mission would take him right to Jerusalem, which was crawling with Templars, the very people he had just betrayed. It seemed like fate itself had offered him an easy way out. All he had to do was get Altair ibn La-Ahad to kill the Templars so he could secretly work with them and keep the apple safe from his fellow assassins. As Altair made his way to Solomon's temple, His mission became increasingly difficult thanks to the interference of two Templar knights, Garnier and Talal. While Garnier was easily dispatched, Talal proved to be a worthy opponent. And when he was ordered to spare the knight, Altair found himself unable to do so, breaking the tenets of the assassin's creed. Later, when he reported back to his mentor, Al-Mualim, he was greeted with disappointment. He understood that in order to keep working with the Templars, Altair needed to be given another chance to redeem himself. With the assassin's interests in jeopardy, he had no choice but to send his student on a mission to eliminate the 9 Templar leaders in the Levant, all while pretending that it was part of his original mission. One by one, Tamir, Garnier, Talal, Abul Nukud, William, Majd ad-Din, Jubair, and Sibrand all met their end at Altair's blade. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to him, Maria Thorpe, the Templar knight who had aided him in acquiring the apple, had fallen in love with him. She had been waiting for the moment when she could tell him about Disable's plan, but she never got the chance because the assassins struck again and again, until every leader of the Templars, except for Disable himself, was dead. When the news of Majd ad-Din's death reached Jerusalem, the assassins sensed that the Templars were planning something big. They were correct. At Majd ad-Din's funeral, Disable planned to have Maria Thorpe impersonate him and slip away from the city undetected. With his body double carrying him out of the city, he would then ride for Arsuf, where Saladin's army had intercepted the Crusaders on their way to Jaffa. There, he planned to use the deaths of leaders on both sides of the war at Altair's hands to unite the Crusaders and Saracens against the assassins. Of course, this plot necessitated murdering King Richard I of England, but he felt that the greater good justified such a sacrifice. In Jerusalem, Altair fell for the decoy, but he managed to survive the Templars' trap and spared Maria, who told him of Disable's plot. Disable's plot, in fact, was going quite well. Saladin had already agreed to help him expose the assassins, though he wanted to delay the attack until Richard arrived in Arsuf. Realizing that time was of the essence, Altair rode for Arsuf, desperate to stop Disable from uniting the Crusaders and Saracens against the assassins. Meanwhile, Disable arrived at Richard's camp and began spreading rumors of Altair's treacherous alliance with the Saracens. But Altair was already there, having traveled faster than the Templar and his men. When Altair confronted them, Disable decided to let the king handle it, resulting in a trial by combat. To everyone's surprise, Altair easily defeated the Templar, not by strength, but by speed and agility. And as the assassin prepared to deliver the killing blow, Disable confessed to him that the real conspiracy involved Richard, as well as Saladin. Surprised but intrigued, Altair took the Templar back to Richard's tent, where Disable repeated his claims, showing the assassin a letter from Saladin confirming his involvement in the plot. Enraged, Altair unsheathed his hidden blade, but Disable revealed that the last conspirator was none other than Altair's own master, Al-Mualim. Shocked and saddened, the assassin realized he had been betrayed by the one person he had trusted above all others. Promising to avenge his fellow assassins, Altair fled the camp, leaving Disable and Richard staring after him in surprise. The Grand Master had anticipated this reaction from Altair and had no doubt that the assassin would immediately return to Masyaf to verify his claim. And so he allowed Altair to go, knowing that he would be returning with reinforcements. Sure enough, within a few days, Altair was back, along with several members of the Assassin's Order. Seeing the overwhelming numbers, Richard knew that he had been outplayed and that there was no hope of winning a battle against the assassins. He sighed, accepting his fate. But Disable was not so quick to give up. He attacked Altair, only to be killed by the assassin's hidden blade. With the Templars' leader dead and their conspiracy foiled, Altair was able to rally the Crusaders and Saracens against the assassins, ending the Third Crusade without any casualties on either side. However, the peace was short-lived. Abbas Sophian, who had usurped leadership of the Levantine assassins after al-Mualim's death, refused to send reinforcements to Cyprus to help defend the assassins' archive there. Instead, he declared that he would raise an army of his own to reclaim the artifact. But before he could do so, the Templars launched a sneak attack, killing Abbas and seizing the Apple of Eden. From 1201 to 1208, the French crusader Philippe du Plessis served as the 13th Grand Master of the Knights Templar. During his tenure, the Templars were successful in retaking their archive on Cyprus, which had been captured by Ottoman assassins in 1191. But their success was short-lived, as in 1228, Abbas Sophian's successor, Ezio Auditore, launched a counterattack, driving the Templars out of the region once more. The Templars would attempt to retake their archive again in 1248, but this time they were unsuccessful, and so the artifact remained in assassin hands until 1511, when the Italian assassin Mario Auditore allowed the Templars to seize it. Between 1201 and 1208, the French crusader Philippe du Plessis served as the 13th Grand Master of the Knights Templar. In 1228, the Templars would manage to retake their archive on Cyprus due to Abbas Sophian, who had usurped leadership of the Levantine assassins, refusing to send reinforcements to defend it. By 1511, despite no longer operating as a public organization, the Templars had managed to regain their influence in the Levant, controlling the cities of Jerusalem and Damascus. That year, however, their rule was challenged by the Ottoman Brotherhood of Assassins, who, with the aid of apprentices sent by the Italian mentor Ezio Auditore, drove them out of the region once more. There you have it, the story of how the Assassins and the Templars went from being allies to bitter enemies. And thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to catch our future uploads. We'll see you next time.